So tomorrow you make a policy that the artificial intelligence application should be limited and make a mandate by government or by a court or by White House. Subsequently, you always create even some more jobs. So at the end of the day, the technology is in the controls of humans.
All right, it's that time of the year and we are going to a lot of campuses talking to different people, and today I have a very interesting person. Why I'm saying he's interesting, it's because he has spent almost all his life in corporate and then he decided that he wants to give back to the students and teach. I have Professor Prakash.
Yeah.
Hi, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us in this conversation.
Yeah.
Before we start, we were having this conversation about, how IIM Lucknow made you feel more like a home, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little about why did you decide from having an illustrious professional career to come back and teach?
See, actually, it is a very interesting question, and first of all, thank you for having me here. One thing I would like to emphasize is I was in the industry to come back to academics. So it is not like a transition. Actually, I come from a background where I did my Bachelor of Engineering. I was a university gold medalist and subsequently applied for a PhD at IIT Kanpur because you always have an option as a gold medalist, and they told that first you do masters. At that time I have an offers from BARC, BARC and DRDO as well, but I thought let us choose to do masters.
Right.
And after doing the masters, I have an offer from corporate. I have an offer to do again FPM PhD from IIM Ahmedabad. But when I approached my guide, he is very keen, Prakash, if you really want to become a professor, work in the industry first. So that made to focus on the industry, and he told that if you are really interested to do teaching, come back with the industry problem.
Got it.
In 10 years. So exactly in 10 years I come back with an industry problem in the area of information privacy. So by that time I have an exposure of working almost 6 years in the United States, 4 years in India across various locations. So that made a very good research problem for my PhD, and thanks to Infosys which has sponsored my PhD. So I could able to register at IIT Madras. I have completed my research, and then I thought I should again come back to my passion. Right. So it is more like though half of my career was spent in the industry, it is with a purpose to come to academics. Right. So I feel like home here.
If you can, and in briefly you can tell us what that problem was that you figured out at that point in time when you were working towards it. Is it relevant even today?
Yes, it is relevant even today. So my problem that I have identified in the industry is all about information privacy. So I was heading the division of data warehousing for Bank of America. Then I was surprised that over a period of time, when you really want to become global, you need to really focus on privacy. So I always believe in going the extra mile, right? So at that time, security is the basic, privacy is an extra mile. So I was an agile coach, a certified scrum master. So in that one also we tell that you should go 1 mile extra to make a unique impact. So I thought privacy is that niche area. Even today when you are talking about responsible AI, so how we need to focus on ethics, what data we can process, what data we cannot process. So it is, the privacy is more about individuals and interactions rather than process and tools. So process and tools is what security is focusing, individuals and interactions is what privacy will focus. So in fact this was the first principle of an agile. As an elective I teach the same course. So I feel very connected.
Let's break it down for people probably who don't understand the technicality of it, because probably that's what you do as a professor as well, right? You said some very interesting fact about privacy, and let's delve a little deeper on that as well. We see data breaches, like for example very recently there was a massive data breach that we all talk about has happened in India as well. If I have to understand privacy and I have to understand the importance of it, how will you make people understand or students understand about it, and what are the things that you can suggest that can help professionals or people who are making these policies or who are getting into the fixing the data privacy problem can do that?
See, I will try to give some examples. Probably you can get connected because your question is how you can make privacy more understandable to everyone. I will give you 3 examples. All 3 examples will help us to understand how privacy is going to be different from security.
Yeah.
The first one, you can imagine we have doors and we have curtains.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of doors? Is to make house secured. What is the purpose of curtains? To maintain some privacy for individuals. So, when civilization goes forward, mature and mature, we want to have curtains as well.
Right.
So, in a similar way, when digital transformation goes beyond something, we start with security, but we go one extra mile. That is called privacy.
Right.
Saying that because individuals, the preferences that will change with time. You might be, every individual is a personalization. We are talking about personalization journey as a part of digital transformation. I want some amount of personalization, you want a different amount of personalization. So these are the privacy differences, and personal preferences do change with age as well. At 20 years I am okay to share something, at 40 I have reservations, at 60 I might be having a different set of reservations. Right. So this makes privacy study very interesting. Right. So this is one example. And the second example I would like to talk about, privacy is more close to heart. Security is more close to mind, right? So technology is more to do with, when you talk about artificial intelligence, saying that responsible AI.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is all about mimicking what happens when you try to process the data and how it can be intelligent, which is mimicking the brain. But someone thought about artificial intelligence is do with heart, right? People tell that intelligence is do only with brain, but philosophy tells, even the Greek philosophy and everything tell that intelligence is not just to do with brain, it is a lot to do with heart as well. Right. So that kind of extra mile. So when I want to focus more on privacy, I always try to go one extra mile than what is needed in the industry. So this explains the difference between privacy and security. And in one of the IEEE conference that I have had, I had very interesting comparison. Security is blue, privacy is pink. And you know that how these colors are referred when they come to male and female in the industry.
It's a very interesting analogy. Since you are in academics now, and allow me to ask you this question, do you think India is doing enough with respect to development of academics, R&D, and actually making sure that new and cutting edge and innovative things come from the country?
See, this is a big question actually. I feel it is on the right track, but still there is lot more to do. So even yesterday I was reading one news that Narayan Murthy told that we need to invest $1 billion to train the educators. That is yesterday's news. Yeah. He is always outspoken. He speaks with a great vision actually. Doesn't mean that we are not doing good, but it means that a lot more to do. A lot of initiatives are there from the government to develop the skills, and every faculty even get an allowance for a faculty development allowance. So there are some frameworks and procedures in place for people to develop themselves, and there are incentives for doing a research, there will be incentives for doing the research. So everything, a great incentivizer mechanism is there in the country, but at the end of the day you should use it. Because everyone have a limited bandwidth to some extent, and everyone will be having their priorities to some extent. So this makes, again back to the conversation, whether you want to travel the extra mile or not. So if a lot of people are willing to travel an extra mile, the facilities are there in the country.
And probably people do have to travel an extra mile now because with the advent of AI, not the advent of it, probably more and more people are using it now. It has become like a everyday term where you use one or the other AI product or tool or anything of that sort, right? And more such discussions are happening as to how it can reach to a point where a lot of jobs that were very operational jobs might just disappear, right? And probably that's why you have to put an extra mile and effort to train yourself or skill yourself in such a way that you can compete with it.
Absolutely.
Are you of the opinion that we need to compete AI, or are you of the opinion that they are our comrades or they are there to help us?
Yeah. See, actually, we focus on some concepts from a research perspective that AI is going to be our friend in the future. Okay, I will try to ask you, saying that, do you compete with your bike?
No.
You collaborate with your bike. Sometimes bike do better than you, sometimes you do better than bike. So when you do some stunt on bike, you control the bike. When you want to go faster, bike controls you. The same with technology AI, not an exception. There are some things AI will do good, there are some things human do will good. So to what extent you strike the balance between AI and a human is going to be the most critical thing in the future. But definitely the comparison is not as simple as that of a bike, because AI comes with a scale. I told you, right? Saying that you have one AI algorithm will drive hundreds of people. So that is the scale which is very unique for the IT, where people should be very cautious about this one, and they should know when to use AI and when to support AI or when to take the support from AI. So these are the three important dimensions I would like to touch. I joined around 2002, almost 20 years back. People thought that IT is something temporary. And we have seen people retiring from the IT jobs for working for 60 years, which people didn't imagine at that point of time. So some amount of a balancing is happening, and tech jobs appeared all of a sudden. They didn't appear just like that. There is a business need behind it. I strongly believe business drives the technology rather than technology drives the business. Technology will give opportunities for the business, but the driver, I always believe, are the people and the business models. So tomorrow you make a policy that the artificial intelligence application should be limited and make a mandate by government or by a court or by a White House. Subsequently, you always create even some more jobs. So at the end of the day, the technology is in the controls of humans. So in that aspect, then when people see that it is going against to the humans, some amount of balance will happen from a regulatory perspective or from different perspectives, because at the end of the day we are all here to make humans happy, humans experience happy. I think no one is working with a mission that they want to make a mission happy, right? So this is basic difference where I feel the drivers are still always the business and the humans, and technology will be leveraged at a significant level.
And that's something that I wanted to talk about. We spoke about privacy, we spoke about AI, we spoke about technology. Regulation plays a very, very important role, right? Are you in favor of government regulating this? Are you in favor of the law regulating it? Or are you in favor of the people who are using it self-regulating themselves?
So when you talk about self-regulating, I try to put it as industry bodies, right? Self-regulating will not happen within an institute, so it happens from an industry body like a NASCOM or some of those particular things are the self-regulating bodies. And then subsequently you are predominantly talking about, do you prefer soft regulation which is optional, which is predominantly by the own bodies, or will you prefer some kind of a medium regulation through law? You can overcome it, but you will have a penalty. A kind of a medium regulation, right? Saying that Samsung has overpowered and copied the Apple and paid a penalty, but they were in the market. So it is somewhat harder than self-regulatory, and mandatory regulations, which predominantly governments or the policy makers will take a call that no, you can do, you cannot do this one. Cryptocurrency, you cannot implement in India, right? That is not a law. It is predominantly from a government side. So it is all about contextual, because in the geopolitics, people will try to see, if I allow it, how it is going to benefit my country, how it is going to make my country surrender to someone else in terms of any fluctuations in the currency of blockchain or something. So you are talking about 3 levels of regulations. So anything which is having a national importance should be definitely controlled by the government. Anything where we try to have a presence across the globe, the policy regulations in terms of law and everything should come into picture, because you have some international laws as well. So anything within the country where we want to be more innovative and which will create some kind of an entrepreneurship opportunities should be self-controlled by like NASCOM or some kind of a bodies by themselves. Technology and timing is the most important.
Right.
There is nothing wrong with technology, but whether you are timing it in a right fashion, when people are willing to adopt it or not, makes a major difference.
Correct.
So I don't see any issues with technology, but is the timing is correct or not, should be thought through.
You said very interestingly, going the extra mile, right? And probably these 2 years that people spend in a place like IIM Lucknow prepares them to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people call it a hell also, hell, right? And there is a reason behind why it's done. Do you, as a professor, or for that matter, other professors here, also believe that going that extra mile at the cost of probably the mental health of the students is the right thing to do?
See, whenever you call as an extra mile, that itself tells that is something extra. Okay, so it is optional. So that is the same analogy I try to talk in privacy also.
Right.
Whenever you are talking about an ethics, it is an optional, right? If it is a rule, we should follow. Ethics an optional.
Right.
So whenever you are talking about an extra mile, to what extent that you want to define our extra mile should be defined by an individual. I cannot define an extra mile for you. So that becomes the major contradiction.
It becomes very subjective.
Very subjective. So that is a very important thing, that we prepare students to go for an extra mile, and we believe that students have enormous potential. So we challenge them in multiple dimensions. In fact, we will ask them to read a 10-page document probably, like in 5 minutes. And you might get surprised. And like, come on, this is too much of an expectation. But over a period of time, they develop an art that in an article, what is an important they need to grasp in 5 minutes. That comes with practice by reading multiple articles. So we try to challenge them, and whoever take that challenge, they go an extra mile. Whoever don't take that challenge, to the best of my knowledge, you don't fail them. We just test them. Okay, but I strongly urge people, take failure as not a reflection on individuals. Failure is transactional.
Yeah.
So I failed in football doesn't mean I failed in my life, right? Football is not a game that I play. As simple as that.
Correct.
Right? So people should not take it too personally. Academic institutions should not be seen as someone who try to provide people to the corporates. So then corporates will come back and tell that I want this skill, I want this skill, I want this skill. So it is all becomes how I try to develop skills for my students. But the purpose of educational institutes is to educate them. So education is different from training. So what corporate look forward is for a training. What education institutes looks forward for an education. So education is told as a kindling a flame.
Right.
Saying that people should be able to think differently.
Right.
People should be able to adapt to different contexts. People should be able to develop overall skills. So this is all the things that we try to focus on the business schools. But sometimes corporates might tell that no, I want an expertise in AI. I want an expertise in XYZ tool, which is more to do with skills. So we need to balance the skills and the education that we try to give from the academic institutes.
Right. Right. And also there is a aspect of procrastination that comes in, right? If you give enormous amount of time to do certain things, your brain naturally tells you that, oh, probably we have a lot of time, we will do it later on. And then you eventually do it in the last 2 hours to finish it off. I'm saying it from my experience because I have always done it in my life. So do you think that also plays a role as a professor, as somebody who's a facilitator, to put pressure on students to get things done?
It is not a pressure actually. Even in the agile product management which I teach, we tell that we need to do things in sprints rather than doing it in a long stretch. A sprint is a 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So when you try to look into an education system, I try to ask this question: do you like year-end exams or do you like semesters? Lot of people tell that I like semesters. And when I try to ask them, do you like semesters or do you like trimesters? They like trimesters. Why? Because if you file in a year-end exam, you need to really wait for 1 more year to appear for an exam, to clear it off,
Got it.
And when you want to do it in short times, like a semester or a trimester, you try to fail fast even if you are failed, right? So you learn from the failures very quickly and you go forward. So such kind of reducing from year-end exams to trimesters, which predominantly happens in business school, and even when you go to some of the international business schools, everything will be taught in 2 months. A subject is taught in 2 months actually. So this is nothing wrong. It is not about pressurization.
Right.
It is all about continuous evaluation such that you don't fail in the end exam. So as long as this is communicated in a right fashion to the students, they see this system is helping them. Saying that if I try to see 60% of the evaluation of a student happens during classroom, during midterm and everything, no one will have an interim pressure. Yes or no? So that's how we need to understand this particular short term, saying that it is a continuous evaluation process,
Right.
rather than one evaluation process that put pressure. So in most of our education, what to say, assessment patterns, we have only 40% weightage for interim. So people can go with confidence that even if they do here and there in the interim, their 60% evaluation is already done.
Right.
So do you see this as a pressure or like some amount of way of relaxing the pressure? So I would like to see the latter.
Right. Let's talk about the domain itself that you have worked in, which is the IT solutions, right? In terms of solving that problem in USA and in terms of solving that problem in India, what would probably be the differences or the challenges that you've seen?
See, the major thing that I noticed in the United States, one thing is they are great team players, right? We are great individuals. Okay, so when it comes to India, so anyone who goes from an Indian context to the West, these are all my experiences. I'm not generalizing the
No,
thing.
no, absolutely.
They will become so great because they are individually great and they have a way to fit them in their team. So they grow very fast in their teams, and you can see very good CEOs, very good leaders in the United States come from Indian background. But when the kind of a team dynamics that happens in our country, everyone try to focus a little bit on their goals. There is nothing wrong in it actually, but you cannot compete as an individual with teams. So that's where I feel some amount of a lag happening. So I always try to tell my students, saying that, hey boss, don't think a person sitting next to you is a competition for you in the campus placements. We all as a 120 or a 130 people are the budding product owners should be a competitors for someone who was sitting in a Stanford and Harvard University. So the moment that you can be able to bring such kind of a collaboration models, started thinking a little bit big, more strategic in nature, then we can definitely make a much bigger impact.
Absolutely. For somebody who is interested in the field that you are probably teaching right now, and they are in a management institute like IIM Lucknow, right? And I've been told that it's one of the favorite things that students from here actually opt for while they go out. Question number one, is it just for people who belong to the engineering community, or do you see more and more people from different backgrounds showing interest in taking up jobs like these that are in offer after you're done with the degree in IIM Lucknow? And question number two is, what kind of work are you supposed to do in this field once you're done with your MBA degree?
See, I always tell my students that IT is not a vertical, it is a horizontal. So the moment that you try to see IT as an horizontal, the know-how of IT becomes mandate for everyone to know. So even the BRICS recent conference talks about important things, know-how of IT and ability to work with data are the most important things that everyone should know. So know-how of IT we teach in MIS, which is a core course, Management Information Systems. And then subsequently we will also talk about how to handle the data in multiple electives. From the IT area, we teach in how to model the data in Excel sheets. So these are the two important things which are horizontal, whether you are in a banking domain or a consulting domain, any domain that you take, this know-how becomes most important thing because it is in horizontal. one of the senior executives working in banking domain can directly enter into as a senior executive in healthcare domain. So it gives a lot of potential for consultancy and learn from the best in practices across the domains.
Right.
So this kind of an horizontal in nature is being attracted by most of the MBA students. In fact, MBA is a horizontal. So there exists some kind of a connection between an IT domain and an MBA. So people would love knowing about more about an IT.
And that allows them to switch from different.
Absolutely, from one career to another career with an IT background. We teach some of the specific electives also to deep dive, something like agile product and project management, digital transformation, artificial intelligence, some of the things like big data analytics, how to communicate the data. So various electives that we teach, but predominantly this helps like a horizontal rather than just one vertical. If you really want to be one vertical, probably IITs are the better place for someone who want to be so techy.
Yeah. But again, going back to the question number one that I asked you, is this course only for people with tech background or engineers or people
No.
have interest?
Actually, most of the courses that especially I can speak about my elective, I always tell that my elective needs more people from the art than with a science or a technology background.
Okay.
In fact, management philosophy is something that connects science with art. Right? So, or a technology with art. So, such kind of an insights, because at the end of the day, you are solving a business problem. Business is an art. So, definitely how you balance the art and science, business and technology is what we predominantly teach. So, if you have all technology people, where is the diversity to teach how to bring a business perspective? So, definitely these courses are for both art and science people, and of course technology as well.
Got it. Brilliant conversation.
Yeah.
Prakash, thank you very much for opening
Thanks a lot
up.
actually.
And I didn't expect it to go the way it did. It was very fluent, and that probably why a lot of your students tell me that you're not run-in-the-mill kind of a professor. You're special. When you walk into the classroom, you bring in your experience and knowledge that you've acquired all through the years, and then you put these nuggets which are very, very understandable and easy to digest. Thank you once again for your time, and we have taken up a lot of time of yours, and I hope that this was helpful for people who are listening to this. If you found this interesting and informative, do tell us in the comments below. Ask questions and we will try and take it to Professor Prakash as much as possible. Do share this video with people who, if you found this valuable, and do tell us who you want to see next in this particular channel. Thank you very much once again.